Hey everyone, Mr. Sujano here, your source for gaming, tech, emulation, and open source news. Let's get started. Alright, we'll kick things off talking about Nintendo Switch emulation on PC and Android with SUYU, and SUYU just got its very first official release. So version 0.0.2 is their first release, and here's their first changelog. They've got a full rebrand. They require all keys to be user provided, along with firmware. They've got an improved add-ons manager, various crash fixes, initial work for macOS support, a fix for video playback on AMD devices. They've enabled more features on AMD proprietary drivers. They've got multiplayer API re-implemented. They've removed all telemetry, new UI options and improvements in quality of life changes. And as for these quality of life changes, they've increased the max sensitivity of mouse panning to allow for higher accuracy aiming with the mouse. They've removed leftover telemetry options, and they've added an option to toggle game folders from appearing in the game list for a cleaner UI. These SUYU builds can be found over on their GitLab. It's 100% free, it's open source, and I'll drop a link to it in the description below in the event that you wanted to learn more about it. Now, there are a few interesting things about this first release of SUYU. First and foremost, here on Android, I noticed that performance was hit and miss. For example, on my Google Pixel 7 Pro, I noticed frame rates drop here and there. Not a whole lot, but a noticeable amount. For example, as I go in for a throw here in Ultra Street Fighter 2, the frame rate drops down to 54.9 FPS. And also, when I change menus, sometimes there's some frame rate dropping as well, for example, down to 56 in this case. Whereas on a fresh install of Yuzu version 249 on Android, there is no frame rate drop when I go for a throw. And furthermore, when I exit to the main menu here, there is also no frame drop. It holds pretty steady. Also, during the initial setup for SUYU on Android, it only asked me for prod keys, not title keys nor firmware, and just using prod keys worked. And as for the PC version of SUYU, it appears that there's issues checking for title keys and also firmware. For example, someone here shows how they bypassed everything without using firmware and only giving it prod.keys. Also, right on their Discord, they're just saying to make an empty title.keys file and everything should be good. And since SUYU is open source, if you go on ahead and take a look at some of the code here, it appears that SUYU is just checking to see if there's a title.keys file. It's not checking to see what's in it, it's not even using the file. Now, all of this is exactly what I mean when I say be patient with SUYU. It's gonna take a while before it's considerably better than Yuzu. It's gonna take a while to really build on Yuzu in terms of emulation compatibility and performance. The developers have a long way to go. This is a very early release, but at the same time, they're trying. But let me know your thoughts about this new release for SUYU in the comments below. And again, to say it louder for the people in the back, I am not betting against SUYU. I'm simply saying it's going to take some time. And speaking about updates, next up we're talking about arcade emulation on Android with MAME for Droid 2024. And MAME for Droid 2024 just got a brand new update. So the latest update is version 1.10.3, and this brings MAME for Droid on par with the PC version of MAME to version 0.263. And they've also added right stick and analog triggers to support generic controllers. Next up, we're quickly talking about Alpha Protocol, and this game was released back in 2010 and delisted from digital storefronts I think about 4 or 5 years ago due to some licensing agreements. Now to this day, the game is still not available on Steam. However, GOG just put out this announcement. The cult classic returns, compatible with modern PCs, a licensed soundtrack, full controller support, achievements, and more. Alpha Protocol is available once again, DRM free. So heading over to GOG, and yes, they're not lying here, Alpha Protocol is available once again and for 10% off. And speaking about games on Steam, next up we're talking about Froggos Adventure Verdant Venture. This game has just dropped on Steam. It's an indie game. It resembles, well, you can probably tell what it resembles. And it's not very expensive. Right now it's 20% off. Froggos Adventure has 7 different levels, will set you back around $1 overall, but be warned here, the specs are pretty beefy. They require 1 GB of RAM and 150 megabytes of storage space. And on a side note here, if that game is up your alley, the developer has another game called Froggos Swing and Grapple. There is a free demo available, and I think the price of this one is just a couple of bucks more. Let me know your thoughts about these games in the comments below. Next up, this is a quick heads up for those of you who still play Dreams. Media Molecule announced that next month live curation support for Dreams will be coming to an end. However, they'll be releasing changes to Dream Surfing and Dream Shaping that will continue to filter new creations through to regular players. So if you play Dreams and you are curious about this one moving forward, I'll drop a link to a very helpful blog post in the description below, and I do recommend checking it out. Next up, we're talking about Riot Games and their League of Legends MMO. And we've got a disappointing announcement today if you are interested in this game. They say, "We know many of you are hungry for news about the Riot Games MMO project, and we really appreciate your patience and the incredible support you've shown us so far. I'm writing to update you today on where we're at, and before anyone panics, yes, we are still working on the game." They then go on to say, "After a lot of reflection and discussion, we've decided to reset the direction of the project some time ago. This decision wasn't easy, but it was necessary. The initial vision just wasn't different enough from what you can play today. Resetting our development path also means we will be going dark for a long time, likely several years. This silence will help provide space for the team to focus on the incredible amount of work ahead of them." Now, if I'm not mistaken, this MMO was announced back in 2020, and now we're probably not going to see the finished game until 2030 or possibly even longer. I'm all for delaying a game to making sure it's good, but at the same time, several years is quite a bit of time. And speaking about game development and also time, next up we're talking about the state of the Unreal livestream. If you're interested in development, if you've got about an hour and a half to spare, I'll drop a link to this video in the description below. It's interesting, but at the same time here, if you're just in it for the games, you may not like this one. But moving on, and next up, we're talking about a game on Steam that has found its way into a bit of a controversy. The game is called Shinobi Warfare, and it turns out they were trading positive reviews for in-game content. This tactic seemed to be paying off for both the developers, considering they're getting an overwhelmingly positive review for this game, and also for the reviewers, because they were getting in-game gems. However, if we head to their Steam page, we can see there's no reviews right now. It appears the Steam team has taken some action. Scrolling down the page, and the reviews still seem to be up, but a lot of the recent ones are negative, calling out this game for basically paying for reviews. Shinobi Warriors appears to be a kind of generic free-to-play game. If you've played this one before, let me know in the comments below, and let me know if it deserved the overwhelmingly positive review score. Next up, this is a quick heads up if you play Super Smash Bros. Ultimate. Apparently between March 22nd to March 27th, Super Smash Bros. Ultimate will be having its final Spirit event. And this is for Princess Peach Showtime and Super Mario Bros. Wonder. Next up, here's another quick one for you. Bandai Namco just released a brand new Dragon Ball Sparking Zero gameplay trailer. This thing looks awesome. The game itself looks amazing. And they introduced a bunch of new characters here. Apparently there's going to be about 35 characters on the roster, at least for now. It may even get bigger. However, unfortunately, at this point in time, we still don't have a release date. I'm excited about this one, but I wish they would at least tell us when this thing was coming out. But next up, we're talking about something that is out, and this is Castlevania ReVamped. I'll drop a link to this trailer in the description below, and feel free to check this out. It is a fan game obviously inspired by Castlevania. It's worth pointing out that there are a couple of Google Drive links in the description, and I will say use extreme caution whenever clicking on an unknown Google Drive link. I don't want to say it's malicious. I mean, the developer of this one does seem trustworthy, but at the same time, you never know. Use extreme caution here. And continuing to talk about game development, next up we're talking about the art of rally game developers. If you're a fan of this game, like I am, you might be excited to know that the developers here are working on a brand new game. This game is called Golden Lap. It hasn't released yet, it is in development, and it's a little bit different than the Art of Rally. This is a racing management game per se, it's a strategy game. It looks very interesting, very soothing, and one I might be checking out. Let me know your thoughts about this one in the comments below. And last up here, we're quickly talking about PC Emulator 86Box, and 86Box just got a brand new update. At the time of filming, 86Box version 4.1.1 is the latest update, and we've got a whole bunch of bug fixes and optimizations. There's also an important note. They say a minor change was made to the ROM set. Users of the base Sound Blaster AWE64 4 should update the ROM set. Box 86 is 100% free, it's open source, and I'll drop a link to it in the description below. Feel free to check it out. But anyways, that is all I've got for you in this one. Straight to the point, all stuff and one fluff. We talked about a bunch today. Let me know your thoughts about absolutely any of it in the comments below. If you like this video, leave a like. If you didn't like this video, leave a like. Hit that subscribe button, check out my other videos. Don't tempt fate, save your state.